What's going on, everybody? You're listening to Season 2, Episode 40 of the Point2Point NHL Recap Show. I'm Pascal Pryor, joined by Mark Havilac. Mark, today we're going to be doing another Deep Dives episode. I believe this is our second last of the season. And then after next episode, which will be our last of the season, we'll do a big season preview opener. Before we get going, though, on today's episode, how have you been, dude?
Dude, honestly, the last couple of days, I feel like I've been feeling a lot better. I'm kind of starting to feel the energy of hockey season around the corner, like the CHL basically starting within the next couple of days, going to the Kitchener Rangers home opener on Friday. So, yeah, dude, I'm super pumped for hockey season. I think I said this before. Like, I feel like this is the first year I actually might watch a lot of the preseason, just because I feel like it's just been such a long summer. So I don't know, dude. I feel like I'm just at the point where I'm just ready to go for this season. How are you doing? Are you feeling the same way, or are you still kind of keeping yourself occupied in your downtime?
I'm still keeping myself occupied, but I'm all ready to go for hockey to be back. Like, for me, I can really tell it's getting close because it's like when you're driving around in Waterloo, like we got the two universities and the college, right? So it's like all the students are back. We're starting to get this fall weather. The leaves are starting to change a little bit, right? So you got that going on. You have football back. So the last two Sundays, I've just been on the couch watching football all day, and I'm like, fuck, man. Like I've missed this, dude. Like as soon as we get hockey back and basketball, it's just gonna be this every day, dude. Just sports all day, right?
So who's your team in football, or are you just more casual?
Football, I used to be a lot more casual back in the day, but when I went to school, it was like they were not harping, but they were pretty like, you guys should really try to know every sport. So I was like, okay, like I really got to dial more into football. So I was like, for me to dial into football, I'm actually gonna have to choose a team to follow, right? So at the time they just drafted Justin Herbert from Oregon, and I'm a Oregon fan for college football. So I'm like, man, they got sick jerseys. Like Justin Herbert's gonna be a sick QB. So I'm a Chargers fan.
Oh, okay. I did not really expect that. I've been trying to get more into football. I'm in a pool this year. It's kind of it's dependent. Like you choose a different team every week, and what they win or lose by, depending if they're the favorite or not, is kind of like how you win or lose or gain points. And it's like if you pick a favorite and they lose, you lose the amount of points they lose by and the spread. Like
Okay.
there's kind of a lot of rules that go into it. So I'm kind of trying to get a little bit more into football. I wouldn't necessarily say I have a team. Like I kind of am sort of cheering for the Bills. I like Josh Allen a lot, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I always cheer for Burrow too. I'm so disappointed he's probably out for the whole season at this point. But I even started watching that quarterback series on Netflix yesterday.
Yeah, that's pretty
Man,
good.
I'm so into it. I was really interested in seeing kind of the work Mahomes puts in, and Cousins and Mariota, I think it is, in the first season of that. So I'm starting to get a little bit more into football, dude. Honestly, Sundays hockey is usually pretty light, so I feel like I'm probably going to watch a little bit more this season.
The other thing too, dude, to really get you down to football is if you play in a fantasy football league, it's the craziest football league because 90% of your players are playing on the Sunday, right? So it's like, and then they got that NFL Red Zone, which is kind of like the frozen frenzy thing for hockey, what they've kind of tried out there for the last.
Yeah, but they
couple
added
years.
commercials in now, didn't they? Aren't people pissed?
People are pissed about that. It's hilarious. They're not even bad though. They just pop it up on another screen for the commercial. It's not that.
Oh, so it's
That
not
bad.
even leaving the whole game? The whole, it's just a little part of
No,
the
yeah, they
screen?
just pop it up on a second
Oh,
bubble.
fuck, that's
Yeah,
not bad at all
that
then.
bad. But yeah, for fantasy, it's like if you play fantasy football, you're just dialed because it's like all day you got players playing in games, and that's the only day really of the week, right, where you have that happening. So I've had the last two Sundays off, and it's been nice just watching, following my team, seeing how I'm doing. Let's get started though on this deep dives episode. We're gonna start off with the Buffalo Sabres and take a look at their draft. This is a team that they did make a trade over the offseason, but we can talk about that later. Really, the big news with Buffalo is kind of when is this rebuild going to be over? Because they've been rebuilding for feels like the past 20 years. Mark, starting off with their draft, how did you feel about their picks?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like overall, I'll kind of go through each guy individually a little bit, like I have with the other teams. I feel like it was okay. I mean, they did have the ninth overall pick. I didn't really, um, expect them to like go out and trade for like an immediate impact player. Like I don't really know if anything like that was really available for them to do, or at least that would have been worth it. Like if I were them, I'd love to bring in like a Raquel or Rust if you could, but I also wouldn't be giving up like the 9th overall pick for them, in my opinion, right? So I don't really mind them picking Radim Murtka. I'm not super high on him overall, but I think in accordance to like if there is something lacking in their prospect pool, like it is a right-handed defenseman, and you can obviously tell by them going out and making that trade this summer. I mean, he is basically the best right-handed defenseman available in this year's draft. So if you don't mind taking a swing on him at 9th overall, I mean, you probably could have traded back and got him at like 12, maybe. But like, also, would Anaheim have taken him at 10? I don't know. Like, would Pittsburgh at 11? Like, there was a lot of interest in him, despite like, I don't think his ceiling is kind of as high as other people do. But like, he's a 6'6" defenseman who like, he like has a big shot, but he doesn't really score much. And it's like, I feel like he's just not going to be a huge like offensive defenseman in the NHL. Like he has a lot of like comparisons to like Tyler Myers. And it's like, even now at this point in his career, Tyler Myers like really isn't that good defensively either. Like he's kind of just like a guy at this point. So I don't love this pick, but I don't really hate it either for Buffalo. David Bedkowski, who they got in the 3rd round, I kind of like this guy, dude. He was traded from Oshawa to Owen Sound in the Colby Barlow deal. And he's like a big defensive defenseman, right-handed shooting as well. I could totally see him being like a 3rd pair defenseman this year. I went to like 2 days of Owen Sound's camp this year, and he was like one of the guys that stood out the most to me this offseason. I didn't really think he was going to go like 3rd round, but like, I mean, kind of what I have seen so far from him, like in camp and stuff, he looks pretty good. Like he had a pretty good summer. So I kind of like this pick for them. Noah LaBerge is like more of like a two-way defenseman from the QMJHL. I don't really know if he kind of has much offensive upside. I actually skipped a guy, Matus Jan Kucharik. I honestly have no idea anything about him. I couldn't even find a hockey DB for him, to be honest with you. Ashton Schultz is a two-way centerman from the USHL. I feel like this was a pretty good pick. Like considering it's like a 6th rounder, like he had 39 points in 57 games in the USHL. The USHL is not really a high-scoring league. Like it's like the numbers aren't really like flashy or anything, but I feel like it's just because he's like a small, undersized, skilled guy. But I don't really mind like taking that risk in the 6th round. Melvin Novotny, kind of the same thing. Like he had a pretty good season in Swedish Junior League last year. Like he was almost a point per game, and he's going over to Muskegon in the USHL this year. Like I feel like he could have like went a little bit higher in the draft. I was kind of surprised he went that late. I don't really know much about their next pick, Ryan Ruchinski, and then they did pick 2 goaltenders. Samuel Milosh is a goalie from the QMJHL. He had a pretty good season with Ruan Naranda last year. And then their other goalie, Evgeny Prokhorov, I don't really know much about him, to be quite honest with you, but he kind of had like a 903 in the MHL isn't really that impressive to me, to be quite honest with you. Like a lot of Russian goalies have like stellar numbers, it feels like. So I don't really know how he's going to turn out. Even as a goalie, dude, it's like, unless I'm watching them deeply, it's kind of hard to like predict their like what they can be unless I've kind of seen them a couple times. Like goalies are so weird, right? Like they could have a bad couple years of development and then like they're 21 years old and they figure it out and then they could be in the NHL by the time they're 25, right? So yeah. I feel like it's probably like one of the hardest positions to really like figure out when a guy's like 18, 19 years old.
So overall, looking at their draft, what draft grade are you going to give them here?
I'd probably just go with like a B. Like, I mean, I think Murtka's like a solid pick for them. And I really like the Bedkowski and the Novotny pick. So like I honestly I'd probably give them like a B, to be honest, but like it's like nothing really, like I don't think they hit any like home runs or anything like that, but they got like a couple of guys that I could see like potentially being in the NHL maybe down the road.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to give them a B as well. I love their first 2 picks with the Budkowski kid and then Murtka, both right-hand shot defensemen. They're both big. Like on their left-hand side, they're like in Buffalo. They're solidified there with Dowling and Power, right? And it really is going to be kind of finding guys to play on that right-hand side. And I think maybe within this draft, you just found 2 guys that can play on your right-hand side. With maybe not both of them in your top 4, but at least hopefully Merck in your top 4, and then maybe the other kid in on your bottom pairing, right? So that's going to help out in Buffalo a fair bit in the future, hopefully. So I'm going to give them a B on their draft grade as well. Let's take a look at their lineup now going into the season. It's actually pretty interesting, and they got a fair bit going on for kind of a meh team. The big news from the offseason was the trade that they made, right? They bring in Kesselring and they bring in Doan as well. And then there's also been a lot of rumors about Bowen Byram and kind of what's going to be going on with him. First of all, let's talk about the trade. How do you think the return was, getting Kesselring and Doan back?
Yeah, I think that I'm not as low on it as like other people are, but I also am not quite sure at the end of the day if it is going to be enough value. I'm really curious to see how Peterka can play. He has been playing with some skilled players, right? But I'm kind of curious to see where they're going to kind of slot him in. Like, are they going to break up like Gunther, Keller, and Cooley? Like, how is this really going to work for Peterka? Like, he did have a really good season last year, and he's had a really good last
Yeah.
couple seasons, but he also kind of had some like shooting luck last year. Like, to be honest with you, like if you were betting me right now, I would probably bet that Peterka's not getting 28 goals again. To be honest with you, I think maybe it's a little bit less. So it's like my thing is with Peterka, it's like not that I don't think he could maybe be a point per game player like in a season, but I definitely don't think he could be a consistent point per game player, to be quite honest. So what I'm saying is like if they're getting a really solid player, but I'm not quite sold that he has like a lot more upside, I guess.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's why I'm a little bit higher on this. I feel like a lot of people don't know about Michael Kesselring, and he didn't play a ton of minutes last year with Utah, but the minutes he played were really good, to be quite honest with you. And they do kind of have a jam-packed right side with Dursey being healthy, Marino, like Maverick Lamoureux's kind of knocking on the door of becoming an NHLer. So I always felt like Kesselring was kind of a guy that they could get rid of, who also didn't have trade protection. I think he's going to be a good partner for Power. I really do. And I think he's going to develop into being a top four defenseman. I just don't know kind of what like the offensive upside is with him. But I think with him, it's like if he can become somewhat physical and like be shutting guys down, I think that's what Buffalo wants. Like they don't really need a guy to go out and get like 40 plus points a season from the back end. Like they've got three other guys right now that have got the potential to do that every single year. So I don't want to say like he's like a perfect player for them, but I think ideally when you're looking at it, like people need to realize like Buffalo does have limited options compared to other teams because people have Buffalo on their trade lists,
Yeah.
right?
A
And like
lot
the
of people too.
Kesselring's in a situation where he's 25 years old on a contract where it's going to expire at the end of the next season. He's going to be an RFA again. Like he didn't have any trade protection, right? And this is kind of a more of an up and coming guy that Buffalo, Buffalo apparently, dude. Apparently they had their eye on him since like December. Someone texted Friedman in like January and said, I don't know when it's going to happen, but I guarantee you in this calendar year, Michael Kesselring is going to be a Buffalo Sabre. I
Yeah.
don't know how the hell the guy knew. I don't even know where he was from or what kind of source it was, but I
It was
think that
Kevin Adams.
Buffalo had their eye on this guy for a long time, right? And with Josh Doan, I think like I don't really think he's got like a high offensive ceiling. Like I don't think he's going to be like what his dad was or anything, but I think he's going to be kind of like a bump and grind, like maybe like third liner, can fill in on the second line. He's got a pretty good shot. Like he could be like like a 40 point a season guy maybe, and maybe provide some physicality. So yeah, like ideally, I don't think that the Sabres like. I don't think they won the trade. I would say they slightly lost the trade, but I also don't think they did bad at all. Like I don't think this is a bad trade for them. I really don't.
See, I'm kind of with you on that, man. Like, I love the two players that they got back in Kesselring and Doan. I completely agree with you. I think Owen Power and Kesselring, that's going to be a really good defensive pairing, and it's going to be a pairing probably for at least 5, 6 seasons here in the future for the Sabres. I like Doan as well. Yeah, there's not a crazy ton of upside, but he is going to be a consistent everyday NHLer playing most likely in your bottom six if you are a team that's really competing. The one thing that I look at the trade though, and I kind of feel that Buffalo lost out on here is I think they should have gotten some sort of pick back, right? I just think if you're giving up a young player that's a 30 goal scorer in the NHL, like those are pretty hard to find around the NHL, right? Like if you're giving up one of those guys, especially considering he had team control and he was an RFA, I would have at least liked to see them get some sort of pick back. And I'm not saying a first rounder, but if they could have gotten a second or third rounder back in this year's draft, I think that would have made the trade a lot more a lot more doable for me, right? And that's nothing against the players they got back. It's just more that man, 30 goal scorers in the NHL, they're hard to find, right? They're hard to find. You had one on your team. Yeah, I understand that he wanted out. It was public knowledge that he wanted a trade, but you still had the team like there was still team control in this scenario. So
Yeah, there
for
wasn't
me, I
restriction to where he could go.
yeah,
Like,
for me, I just look at that and I'm like, I think just given that if Buffalo got a pick back, it would have worked out a bit better for them. That being said, though, I do like the two players they got back. I really do like Kesslering, and I think he's going to be a massive help on that right hand side in Buffalo.
yeah, honestly, like I think it would have made it feel a lot more like even if there was like maybe a
Yeah,
third round pick. Honestly, even if it was a fourth, I would have been like, okay, like yeah, like I get what they're trying to do here. The one thing I would say back maybe that they were both thinking is it's a hell of a lot easier to find like a scoring winger than it is like a right-handed defenseman. Like
yeah,
who's young on a good contract. He's making 1.4 million like for next season, right? So I wonder if that had consideration going into it and like Paterka was owed a payday. Like, but I do totally get what you're saying. I probably would have felt better if there was a pick in there. But I wonder if just the valuation for right-handed defensemen right now is just through the
just through
roof.
the fucking roof. Yeah, I could see that for sure. Let's talk about another guy who's a defenseman. He is playing on the right hand side, but he is a left hand shot defenseman. It's Bowen Byram. Mark all goddamn summer long. When's Bowen Byram going to get traded? Where's he going? Who's in on the Bowen Byram sweepstakes? At one point, I believe he was going to arbitration, but then he signed just before arbitration. Correct me if I'm wrong there. So he signed a $6.2 million extension per season for 2 years. That's going to take him to UFA. So Buffalo really kind of shit the bed, in my opinion, with this scenario, because now you went from having some control over Bowen Byram and what are we going to do? Where are we going to trade him? To now Bowen Byram can just fucking sit this out for 2 seasons and go straight to UFA and leave Buffalo, and they could potentially get nothing back. How do you think they handled the sort of scenario with him this summer? And do you think he'll get traded at some point during this season?
I think it is really going to depend on how obviously the Sabres are one doing in the standings and probably two personally how he's doing. Like I feel like a situation where he's kind of having an off year, like they're not the valuation for him is going to be even less. Like
Yeah,
I really wonder if they were so focused on like attacking a current position in a trade that it made it limited. I think maybe they were probably looking for like a top six forward back, or teams were more like we want to give you a future for him, and like Buffalo is interested in making the playoffs, not getting like a first round pick or like a good prospect. Um, yeah, I agree in the sense that I think they've kind of backed themselves into a hole here. Like it's not ideal at all. Like he hasn't really like it's. I don't think it's ever been public that he's asked for the trade. I don't know if
yeah,
he's ever like kind of like inched at it towards management at all. But it's ideally like it's just not going to be a great situation for him to even come back in 2 years when there's already two left-handed defensemen. You're not really getting the opportunity to be a number one guy. Um, I just really wonder like the valuation in this trade if it does happen, like how I know there could be a different amount of suitors in there. The one thing I will say is I don't think there's going to be as many suitors maybe as people think, considering like left-handed offensive defensemen like it's not an easy position to find by any means, but like there's only a certain amount of teams where I could say like Bowen Byram would step in and I would be like really comfortable like giving him the number one power play spot
Yeah.
over like a guy that maybe a team already has, right? So I really wonder if the valuation for him is going to be like, I wonder if people are going to be more like even underwhelmed in a trade than they were with like Peterka and Kesselring, to be quite honest with you. And I don't know what they can get back for him at this point, to be quite honest with you. Like, he had a really good plus minus on a bad team last year, but he was playing with one of the best defensemen in the league, and like he really didn't have good defensive results either. And his offense is kind of just like it's good for defensemen, but
Yeah.
it's not like something where it's like super standing out, right? So I just don't know what they can really get from him. And he does have injury history too. Like, I don't think keeping him. I think the longer they keep him, the worse it kind of is for his valuation, unless he's playing unreal at the beginning of the year.
See, if I'm Buffalo, I think the ideal time to trade him is this year's trade deadline because he's got a contract for 2 years. He's making 6.2 million with the cap going up like after this next season. If you trade Bowen Byram and you're retaining 50% as the Sabres, like I feel like you could get a decent, like not a haul back, but I think you could get a decent return. Plus, the other thing is if you are retaining on that makes it where a lot more teams will be able to um be in on the Bowen Byram, not sweepstakes, but I guess we'll call it that, right? Because if if you're a team that's going to be making the playoffs, Bowen Byram at 3.1, you can kind of probably find a way to fit him in there, maybe on your second pairing, where if you're trading for the full 6.2, like that really limits the amount of teams that can fit that in the lineup. Most teams that are going to be kind of fighting for a playoff spot won't really be wanting to bring in Bowen Byram at 6.2 for him to play on their second pairing. So I think I still do think Buffalo kind of backed themselves into a hole a little bit here, but I think there is a way for them to potentially figure something out and get some sort of return here. I will say though, the one part about this that really doesn't Buffalo has no control over is, as you mentioned, it's really going to be a lot of it is decided on how is Bowen Byram playing. Is he having a good season or a bad season? Because if he's having a bad season, even at 3.1, like I don't know how many teams are going to want to bring him in if you're fighting for a Stanley Cup. Do you think do you think if you're a Stanley Cup winning or a Stanley Cup contending team, Bowen Byram at 3.1, like you'd be somewhat interested in it or not at all?
I feel like it would definitely depend on the team. The thing with Byram is he's won a Stanley Cup, right? And
Yep.
the best hockey he ever played was probably during that Stanley Cup run. He does have injury history though, and the thing is you'll know. I just think the investment that you'd have to make into a trade with him, knowing that you'd have to probably extend him, it really is going to depend kind of on the situation. I feel like. I feel like most teams would probably not be interested, to be quite honest with you. But also it could depend on what if a team loses like a second pairing defenseman like for the season or something, right?
Yeah.
Then maybe. But I also just it's intriguing to bring him in at that cap hit, but I also just don't know if the Sabres would be willing to retain, to be quite honest. I think
Yeah.
they might just look at it and be like, we think he's worth this. Like, right? So why should we retain on it? And like, because the thing is with Buffalo, it's like, are they going to go the route of like they want futures, or are they still going to go the route of like we want immediate help, even if we're like out of the playoffs, right? Like, I don't really know exactly what their plan is moving forward in accordance to that. Like, even at the deadline, like think about it, this year's deadline, like they were out of it and they still made like a hockey trade with
Yeah.
Cousins and Norris, right? Like, and they gave up a second round pick. So they're in a confusing situation to me. he's so interesting to kind of keep an eye on moving forward because I'm just so unsure about him, man. Like I like his game, but there's a lot of inconsistencies. There's a lot of injury history. He's still young. He's a great skater, but I just don't know how much opportunity there is out there for him right now, to be quite honest with you. And I mean, it's good for him that he's going to be walking to UFA basically if he wants, unless he signs a contract beforehand. But um, I still kind of have a little bit of doubts about him. But I understand he's a very young and he's still a very skilled player. But he's had a lot of concussions too, right? Like he
Yes.
took like almost a year off, I think, at some point to like kind of to like kind of reset, right? So like those are kind of concerns for me.
Let's take a look at the rest of their lineup now. Mark, I'm not a fan of this lineup, to be honest. How do you kind of feel about it, though?
I mean, like besides like the trade they made, they didn't really do a whole lot, right? Like they're bringing back
Yeah.
Zucker, like Greenway's coming back. They bring in Justin Danforth for the fourth line. Um, Jack Quinn gets re-signed. That's a pretty good bridge deal for Jack Quinn. I feel like I wonder if he's gonna like he's kind of a guy I'm interested to see like is he gonna have a pop off year this year? The thing is with them, it's like they've got so much young talent that hasn't really popped or like that's kind of expected to. Like, are a couple of these guys gonna pop? Like Benson,
Yeah.
like Yuri Kulik. He kind of had a really good second half of the season last year. Like, how does Josh Doan fit in this lineup? Um, but I really feel like if this team doesn't figure out how to play proper defense, like it's like none of this is going to matter. Like I didn't realize this last year. I'm pretty sure Buffalo was second or third in the league in 5-on-5 goals for last year.
Yeah, I did not realize that either.
And Columbus, because Columbus was first. Columbus, the only team I think I heard Columbus had 9 more 5-on-5 goals than Buffalo, and then the next team after that was 20 away from Columbus. Like
Dang.
they both scored a lot 5-on-5 last year. They just couldn't keep the puck out of their net, right? So I wonder how much of a difference Kesselring makes. Dahlin, I think, is an incredible two-way defenseman.
It wouldn't be an episode without the mic falling off.
Fuck, dude.
We're gonna have to start stitching these together and make a end of season blooper.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you still.
Yeah, I think Dahlin, he's an incredible two-way defenseman that really doesn't get enough credit for that because like he's kind of had a couple consistent, really good offensive seasons recently, but
Yeah.
he shuts guys down too, and he's super physical. Um, but I think like Luukkonen overall, I understand he doesn't get a lot of help, but like the year before, he also didn't get a lot of help, and he was great, right? So it's like I kind of have to judge it off of that, and I didn't think he was very good last year. So I really wonder if he's going to rebound. Kind of 2 of his 3 NHL seasons haven't been that good. But I'm also interested, like, they bring in Alex Lyon, who could be a decent backup. But you see a couple days ago, they signed Georgiev.
Yeah, I did. There's like no path
So
for Devin Levi anymore. It
I
makes
really wonder
no
if he's going
sense.
to be involved in a trade.
Yeah. It is really weird though. But
I was just like, I'm like, Georgiev? Like, dude, honestly, I would have been happier with them bringing back Reimer.
yep.
Like, why Georgiev? I don't really understand. Are they just like thinking he can have a huge year just because he's done it before? Like, fuck, man, I don't really understand it to be quite honest with you. But their goaltending is going to have to be a hell of a lot better too if they want any chance of getting in. I don't really think that there's an opportunity for them to get in. I think they're just going to be a high flying offensive team and not figure it out defensively again, to be quite honest with you. And I could see them being probably like a bottom 3 team in the Atlantic again.
Yeah, I think they're going to be bottom of the Atlantic again. They got a lot of young players, as you mentioned. Like it is going to be interesting to see who can take a step, who kind of doesn't take a step. But the other thing that is interesting is they got a lot of guys that are on like 1 or 2 year deals, right? Outside of their core. Like Alex Tuck, it's like there's kind of some question marks around him. Is he going to be a Buffalo Sabre past this season, right? Jason Zucker, he's got one year left, right? It's like, is he a guy maybe that will get traded at some point during the season if Buffalo's not good? Because if they do that and one of those two guys gets traded, or even both of them, like they're gonna have absolutely no veterans in the lineup, and they already don't have any in the lineup, right? So for me, I'm not too much of a fan of this Buffalo Sabres team. I think they're way too young. Like I would have loved to see them go out in the offseason, and I'm not saying go and sign like a veteran that's going to play in your top six, but even get a veteran that's going to play in your bottom six, somebody for all these young guys to lean on a little bit. Because right now they got pretty much no veterans. It's like, would you rather have like Peyton Krebs right now? We have him slotted in here playing on their fourth line, right? I would rather Buffalo go out and find some veteran player to play fourth line C than Peyton Krebs, because to me it just doesn't make too much sense having him down there instead of somebody who's maybe going to be a little bit more effective there playing on your fourth line. Mark, what are you going to give the Buffalo Sabres overall offseason grade?
See, the thing is, it's like I don't think it's that good, but I also like think it's like he is limited on what he can do a lot, right? In the interest of like players actually coming to the team. But it's like they also could have handled that Byram situation a hell of a lot differently. I'm gonna go with a C minus.
See, I was kind of debating what I was going to give them. I knew it was going to be in the C's. I do like their draft, but I really don't like everything else that they did. Outside of that trade, I do like the trade, the two players they brought in, but I do think they should have gotten some sort of pick back there. So I think I'm going to give them. I'm stuck between a C and a C minus. I'm going to give them a C. I'm going to give them a C. Just the grade and then the players that they did bring back bumps it up from a C minus a little bit for me.
Okay.
Let's take a look now at the Carolina Panthers. This is a team that during the actual season last year, man, there was a lot of stuff going on with them. Pretty entertaining. Let's start off by taking a look at their lineup. Mark, how are you feeling about their lineup here? Because honestly, they didn't do a crazy amount here during the offseason.
My question is, how are you feeling about their lineup? You're too into football, dude. You just called them the Carolina Panthers.
Carolina Panthers. I am tuned into football. The Carolina Hurricanes, pardon me.
Yeah, I mean, like they didn't change a whole lot of their roster, but I feel like they did still like kind of get a lot of business done too, right? Like even
Yeah.
extensions like going, they're going to be starting next season, right? I mean, the biggest move obviously is bringing in Nikolai Ehlers. I think he could probably pop in their system. I think it's a really good ad for them in the top six. Like Svechnikov to me kind of isn't really getting it done at like a near first line level. Bringing in Keandre Miller as well. Like they did give up a lot for him, I will say, to be quite honest with you. But it's like they're also using one of those assets from the Rantanen trade to go out and get a top four defenseman in Keandre Miller. And you got to look at it in the sense of like, it still makes them better right now, despite on whether you think they win the trade or not. Like Keandre Miller's a better player than Scott Morrow is right now. So he's a guy that I honestly think he can fit into their system quite nice. I think he skates very well. I think if he can kind of develop a little bit of a mean edge and like maybe eventually be like a second power play guy, like 30, 40 points, like it is a lot of money for him, but I think with the cap going up and kind of how well he skates, I don't really think we're going to like look at this as like a bad contract. But I also don't really think it's going to end up being like a steal of a contract or anything along those lines. But I don't really mind them bringing in Miller. I just kind of wonder like what the future is for Nikish in there. Like, he's probably going to have to be playing the right side as a left-handed shooting defenseman. There's been talks about him getting a chance on the first power play. I don't really know if you do that right away with how kind of good Gostisbehere has been on their power play. But like the other offseason moves, I mean, they don't really affect the team until like next season. Jackson Blake re-signs an 8-year deal at 5.1. Logan Stankoven also signs an 8-year deal. His is at $6 million. I will be honest. I love this Logan Stankoven deal. I think
Yeah,
halfway through this contract, we might be looking at it and being like, holy fuck, how the hell is this guy making $6 million right now? The Jackson Blake deal, I think this deal is going to be totally worth it. I'm not like as high on it as I am the Stankoven one, but I think that he's a guy that could be a top six forward. He could even be like a really good third line piece. And I'm not really convinced in the future, like 5.1 million for like a really good skilled third liner putting up like 40 to 50 points is really going to be that bad of a deal, to be honest. So I think those are some like tidy extensions by Tulski, to be honest with you. Like he had 17 and 17 last year, and he was playing like third, fourth line minutes until he
yeah.
got promoted,
In the
right?
second half of the
So
year, he was stepping up a fair bit more.
and he was top five in expected goals against on the Carolina Hurricanes last year. He was like one of their best defensive forwards on the team last year, on a team who really relies on like two way, like relying on their two way game a lot, right? And that's kind of what Brendan Moore preaches. So these are two guys they really like, right? And they see as Hurricanes long term. They get their paydays. Honestly, I think these contracts, we're just going to look at them and be like, holy shit. Like people are like, yeah, like it's more of like, yeah, they don't have a star though, and whatever. It's like, dude, but the way they're setting up these contracts, like, buddy, they could go out and get like Kaprizov or something
Yeah.
and pay him and overpay him, like the way they've been setting themselves up with these, right? Like, I really like what Carolina did this offseason, but at the same time, they still don't have a second line center. And that's a concern. It's not like they can't address it at some point. It's not really like much has been available right now. And like Kotkaniemi can probably be a stopping gap for the regular season, considering like the talent around him. But it's been proven in the playoffs that it's not enough to get them all the way, right? So I think it's something that's going to have to be addressed throughout the season. The thing is, too, they still have another first round pick that's not even theirs from the Rantanen trade.
Yep.
They've still got a pretty good prospect pool. Like there's still things that they can do to go out and improve, right? Like maybe Nikishin doesn't really work out and you use him as a trade chip. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that I want that to happen or anything, but it's like they will have options, right? Like they've committed to Slavin, they've committed to Keandre Miller. Like they have assets to go out and do something still. So it's like I'm not really that concerned right now because I think they have a lot of talent to at least like get them through the regular season.
Yeah, as you mentioned, I really like the extensions that they handed out this year. Getting Stankoven for 8 years it's 6 mil. Like I completely agree with you, dude. Like this might be the best contract in the NHL in 2 or 3 seasons. We might be like when somebody's getting paid $20 million and Logan Stankoven, who is like 30 points less, is making $6 million. We might be looking at this like holy shit. Like that is a that's a steal of a deal. The Jackson Blake one, I am with you on that. Like I'm not as big of a fan as the Stankoven one, but like this Stankoven one, that's a hard that's a really high bar, right? That they set with that contract. I still do like the Jackson Blake contract. Like I agree with you. He's gonna be their everyday third liner. At some points, he might be bumped up playing on that second line, depending on how things go. Bringing back Taylor Hall, I like as well. I think Taylor Hall playing on the third line, like that's a good veteran player.
He kind of
And
rejuvenated himself after the
yeah,
deadline, I felt like a little bit.
and then the Keandre Miller one, I like that one a fair bit to be honest. Like I understand that Nikishin, yeah, he probably has to play on the right hand side right now, but if you're Carolina, like you got your 1-2 on the left hand side locked up for the next 8 seasons, and those are both going to be pretty good defensive players within this system that Carolina plays, right? That man to man style. I really like what Carolina did here this offseason, to be honest. I think when you're looking at Carolina and what they did this offseason with their lineup, they're maybe one of the very few teams that you can safely say I think they did get better. Like throughout these deep dives, Mark, we've been looking at a fair bit of teams and saying, they didn't really get better. They kind of stayed stagnant, or yeah, no, like this team is a team that is different, but I wouldn't say they're better. Looking at Carolina, I think it's pretty safe to say that this is a team that did get better here throughout the offseason. Let's take a look at
Yeah,
their. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, I agree, but like people might say like, oh, like no Burns, no Orlov. Like honestly, bro, I thought Orlov was like the worst
He
defenseman in that
was
Florida series. He was
terrible
absolutely
last year.
terrible. Burns, yeah, I mean, he eats minutes. It's going to be a decent loss, but I also think people don't really realize how good Nikishin could be if he gets an opportunity. And
Yep.
Miller, I think we haven't really been seeing like a lot of positives from Keandre Miller the last year and a bit, right? He didn't really have a good year. So I think there's more to give with him, and I think he's still young. And like you said with Slavin and Miller, I also just look at both of them, and it's just like they're both big guys with like active
Yeah.
sticks, and they skate so well. Right.
Yep.
So it's like, I think Miller could fit into the system so nicely. And I think they see that he could be a type player, and like Brendan Moore could. Honestly, I would love to see like more of a mean streak from Keandre Miller, because I think he could be a scary defenseman if he could figure out how to be like a more scary defenseman to play against.
Yeah, I'm all with you on that. Let's take a look at their draft now. Not a whole lot of high picks, but they had a fair bit of picks here within the second and third round. Mark, how do you kind of feel that they made out at the draft?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like every year I'm kind of like pumping Carolina's tires at their draft, because at the times I feel like they're just getting such good value picks. Like they didn't have a first round pick this year, did they? Am
No,
I
they had two
like,
second round picks
because I'm
and
trying to remember
three
they
seconds.
made a trade to go trade down, but they didn't actually pick. Like they didn't. What I'm saying is they didn't have a first and then trade out of the first, right? I don't think that's what happened this year with them.
Because their first that they had this year, it was part of the Miller trade, right?
No, because that trade was made on July 1st. Either way, I don't think that they had a first that they traded out of the first round. Their first pick was Charlie Serrato. He played at Penn State last year. He's actually going back. He's gonna be playing with Gavin McKenna. The thing with him, he's a double overager, but like he had an incredible year in the NCAA. Like he was over a point per game. You know how I am with drafting overagers. It's a pretty high
Yeah.
pick for an overager. The one thing I will say, though, is Montreal made a very risky trade, and they traded 39 and 62 for 34. And so Carolina used this, like, you know what I mean? They got an additional second round pick from this. So maybe they felt like they could have made that move. Sorry, 39 and 41, because
Yeah.
they picked the goalie at 41 for 34. Like everyone was saying, I don't know why Montreal did this, but watching their interviews, they love the Zarovsky kid they picked, and they thought he should have been a first rounder. So I mean, knowing that for Carolina, I don't mind the Serrato pick as much. I'm just kind of curious, like how close they actually think he could be to the NHL, considering like he's a 20-year-old, like over point per game season in the NCAA. Like maybe we'll see him sign in the next season or two, to be honest. You know what I mean? And maybe playing some games in the minors. Their second pick of the draft was Semyon Frolov. In my opinion, he was the second best goalie in the draft behind Joshua Ravensbergen.
Yeah.
I think he's got even a little bit higher of an upside than Pyotr Andreyanov. He's super flexible. He's big body, keeps his teams in games all the times. Honestly, he just has a type of style that I think he can thrive under a really good defense. I think that he's probably like a top 10 goalie prospect in the NHL, to be quite honest with you. I'm pretty high on this kid. I just, when Carolina picked him, I'm like, here we go. Like, this is another guy. Like, this is going to be potential goalie of the future for him. I'm even higher than him than I was on Kochetkov when he got picked. So I really wonder about Frolov, like, coming over in the next, like, 3 to 4 seasons. The next pick, we both love this guy, Ivan Ryabkin. He was picked 62nd overall. I think going into last year, he was talked about of maybe even being a top 10 pick.
Yeah, I even
Um,
saw top five with some people at some points.
he didn't have the greatest showing in the first half of the season when he was in Russia in the MHL. I think that was a huge reason why he came over to Muskegon. But in 27 games, though, 19 goals, 30 points, pretty solid. The thing is, he is undersized. He's 5'11", but he's also built like
Yeah.
he's 205. Sometimes it's kind of like an effort thing from him, but I think that there's upside in this pick, dude. Like I think there's a chance he becomes like a second line center, like even being picked like 62nd overall, who's got some skill, right? So I really like this pick. I was super surprised that he went this late. I think I had him going 32nd, to be quite honest with you, because I would have just taken the risk in the first round. Kurbin Limitov, these honestly, as you can tell, they love taking Russian guys. Like we were talking about with Washington last week, but Carolina's another team that always goes for Russians. Kurbin Limitov's like a big, more defensive defenseman who skates well. He could potentially be maybe like a bottom pairing defenseman in the future. I don't really know much about Roman Bausov, but he seems like a huge right-handed defenseman. Vigo Nordlund is like more of like a undersized, skilled guy who really lit it up in like the J20 league this year. And then Philip Ekberg, he is super interesting, dude. He didn't really have the greatest season in the OHL. I remember hearing about this kid when he was 15 because I think he was the youngest player ever to play in an Allsvenskan game. Either that or he was the youngest player ever to get a point. So I was so interested in seeing his development, but he never really grew or anything. But he was a guy that I felt like probably could have went like fourth round, maybe fifth round, kind of after like the undersized skill guys go. I'd be probably taking a chance on him. I thought he was just going to end up going undrafted, but I was like, of course, Carolina gets him, right? So I kind of have my eye on him because he's a pretty skilled player who just didn't really have a good season last year. And I feel like he could like break out in the O this year.
Mark, what are you going to give them for a draft grade?
Honestly, without a hesitation, I'd be giving them an A.
Yeah, I think I'm giving him an A as well. Like the Frolov pick, that goalie, dude. I think we all thought he was going to go to Columbus at 20 at one point. Like when it was kind of rumored that Columbus was like looking at taking a goalie and it might be one of the Russians, we all thought it was going to be Frolov, right? And then it wasn't him. And it's like, this is a goalie that could have probably gone in the first round, maybe early second round, and you're getting him here at 42. I guess that is maybe I guess a bit early in the second round, but I love it for Carolina. Like as you said, this is a goalie that is probably going to be their goalie of the future. And then that Ryabkin pick, like getting him at 62, dude, is I think's insane. I it is a lot of risk reward scenario here, kind of boomer bust. But as you mentioned earlier, like this was a guy that was projected to go top 10 at some points during last season, and you're getting him at 62. I think it's incredible value. I think they got incredible value here throughout the draft, so I'm going to give them an A as well.
Well, you know who else was picked 62nd overall?
Pardon me?
You know who else was picked 62nd overall? Lane Hudson.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, what are you going to give their overall offseason grade?
I think I'm gonna go with an A minus just because like I think the second line center thing, like I just can't like give them an A plus because like they still have a gaping hole that they haven't fixed. But it's like with the draft and like they made really good moves around, I'm gonna go with an A minus. But the second line center thing is just kind of keeping them away from doing that.
See, I'm going to give them an A. I'm going to stay at the same as the draft. I think I agree with you. Like the second line center is something that does need to be addressed at some point here during this next season. But I think with the assets they do have, picks and young players, I think there is a road for them addressing it. I'm just looking at it. It's just I don't know what options there really were for Carolina to do to address that second line centerman role, unless they straight up overpaid somebody in free agency, right? And I rather have them kind of hold still than go out and pay Granlund $7 million or overpay somebody to be their second line center, right?
What about a Kotkaniemi, like trying to get him out and like bring someone else in? Like and just paying like more on top of it to bring that was more my mentality. Like could they try to ship out Kotkaniemi and like get something, you know?
I just think I don't know. I don't know really if any teams would want to bring him back. It's like he's making just under 5 for 5 more seasons. There's not a whole lot of teams wanting to take that money back.
I don't think it's a good contract at all, but I also just feel like with the cap going up, like I don't think it's like an unmanageable deal though. Like I feel like he's like a third line defensive center. Like people look at him like he's absolutely terrible. I think it's because he's had like one season of like 45 points and like he has like had opportunities to put up more points as a skilled guy, but like I will say like his defensive game is not bad. Like I wouldn't mind him being the 3C that much, but like that was more my mentality. Like if a team was interested in like a 3C, like on a manageable contract, like kind of like for the next, it is a bit of an overpayment, but like, to be honest, like I don't look at it and I'm like, I don't think it's like a bottom 10 contract in the
No,
NHL.
I don't think it's bottom 10 either. I agree with you. Like I could see maybe at some point a team being willing to take him on as a 3C. I just think we're still maybe like a season or two away from that, right?
Yeah.
I just think right now, if you were to trade Konyemi away from the Carolina Hurricanes, I got it correct this time. I think if your team bringing him in, you'd probably want some sort of other asset back in that deal, right? Where
No,
if
that's
you're
fair.
Carolina, I think it's like, hey, just hold on to him maybe for a year or two. Like at some point, Stahl's going to be gone as well, right? So hey, maybe they hold on to him, and when Stahl's gone, it's you just bump him down to the third line, right? And at that point, it is a manageable contract to be having for your third line centerman. I just think for right now, like 5 mil for your third line center is a bit high. Let's take a look at the Chicago Blackhawks now. This is a team that made most of their headlines at the draft. Mark, how do you feel they made out at the draft? They had 3 first round picks, which was definitely interesting with them.
Yeah, I mean, they were pretty active, right? Like I think 8 picks overall throughout 7 rounds, three in the first round. Everyone was kind of wondering like who would they end up getting at number three. Anton Frondell falls to them. I think this is a good pick, dude. I think it's a guy that, considering what else was on the board, there's probably a couple guys around that I would have been interested in too. But there's definitely question marks about like the second line center need for them moving forward. Like I understand Nazar's playing it now. Like, would he be better suited for the wing? It kind of just gives you options. And I think for Frondell's development, like I believe he will be going to Hawks camp because he signed. I'd probably send him back to Sweden for another year and then try to get him over next year, if possible, unless he really blows you away at camp and you think that he can make a huge difference in the NHL this season. But I really like this pick for them, and he's definitely one of the better prospects in the NHL, I would say. And like he's 6'1", but he's pretty built at the same
Yeah.
time, and he had really good numbers in Allsvenskan last year. Despite I think he was injured for a little bit, but he's got some high end skill as well. Valklov Nestrasil, he's a big guy, dude. Played in the USHL last year. He kind of like started tearing it up the second half and just started showing kind of traits in his game that he can be like a real power forward in the NHL. Personally, would I have picked him here? Probably not. But I mean, I think they're kind of taking the second half of the season into effect a lot and probably just thinking he can continue to get better off of that. You know what I mean? The next pick at 29, Mason West. I'll be honest, I'm super indifferent about this pick. I don't really like it that much, to be quite honest with
Yep.
you, considering he's a dual sport athlete playing. Is he still playing high school football right
High
now?
school football, yeah.
He's a quarterback. He's a big guy too at 6'6". Um, he played in the USHL last year for 10 games after high school. He had 9 points. He only had one goal though. I don't know, dude. I was hearing about this kid getting into the first round, and I was reading more into his story, and I was like, man, like, is he really gonna quit football for this? Like, you don't see a lot. This doesn't really happen with these dual sport athletes. Like, they don't want you playing other things. Like, so he gets picked, and I'm kind of like, all right, like, this kid's got to commit to hockey. Like, my mind, I was literally like, there's no fucking way the Hawks are letting him play football.
Yeah.
and he's playing football. So I don't know. I personally, I don't really like this pick. I don't really know what his like offensive ceiling is, considering like he's not even playing hockey the first half of the season. Like
Yep.
it's just very weird to me. The one thing I heard that like I wonder if the Hawks thought about was, say this doesn't work out and like say he goes the football route, he doesn't sign with them because he's a first round pick, they get a second round pick in compensation. If you draft a guy in the first round and he doesn't sign a contract with you and like you lose his rights, you get a second round pick in the next draft after you lose the player. That's how it
But
works.
that's see, I get that. It's just like, man, that's 4 years down the road.
I know. That's
It's like,
that's where I'm like, you
and it's a
they
second
have a
round
good
pick.
prospect pool. They have a good prospect pool, but I just personally would have went a different route.
Yeah.
There was other guys on the board at the time. I would have fucking went Ryabkin over him.
Yep.
I would have went Ryabkin. I would have even said, even though we just signed Spencer Knight, oh fuck, I'll take fucking Ravensbergen or Frolov. Why not? Like,
Yep.
I would have much preferred to go a route like that than
Pretty sure
a
Potter
risk
was still
on.
available there.
Yeah, Potter.
Yep.
I think they just made a big risk with Nestrasil a little bit at 25. They probably could have got him later. That I don't know why they did it again. To be quite honest with you. So I'm going to be honest. I'm not really that high on this pick at all. Like at
Yeah.
all. It's like, dude, every drafted player has an edge on this guy until he starts playing hockey again.
Yep.
He's not focusing on hockey right now, right? So I don't get it. If other teams were really willing to go that high on him, maybe there's something I'm missing here. But I don't think that the risk is worth the reward with this, to be quite honest with you. Like, I don't see him being like an elite player in the NHL, like, to be quite honest with you. So, I don't know. Nathan Bem, the next pick. This guy had like a fucking great start to the season, and it was even like in some people's first round mocks. But he's kind of just like a skilled guy who doesn't like play that hard, but puts up points. Probably a pretty good pick in the third round, to be quite honest with you. Julius Sumpf is a double overager from the QMJHL. He had a really big season with Moncton last year. He's more of like kind of like a projection of like maybe like a fourth line center type of thing. Parker Holmes, honestly, really surprised this guy got drafted that high, considering he had 1 point in the OHL last year in 23 games. He's going to be like a fourth line enforcer type thing, but not really sure why you need to do that with a fourth round pick. Ashton Cumby, I don't really know much about him. He was playing the WHL last year, just kind of seems like a big defensive defenseman. And then their goalie, Ilya Kanarski, he's a double overager. He had really good numbers in the MHL last year. I think he's going to get a shot in the KHL. Even though those are really good numbers, 938, like some guys have those numbers at 18 in the MHL, right? So,
Yeah.
and some guys are already in the KHL 19, 20. So I don't really take too much stock into it, but it is a seventh round pick. So it's probably worth the risk, to be honest.
What are you gonna give their draft grade here?
Um, I'm going to go with a C plus.
Really?
I don't like the two. I don't really love the two other first round picks, to be honest. And I think as much as I like Frondell, like those picks, like they could have been used differently.
See, I'm gonna give them a D plus. For me,
Yeah. Wow.
that for me, it's like in a year where you're Chicago, where like you really gotta start ramping up this rebuild, right? Because like Bedard's gonna be coming off his ELC soon here. Like you just signed Nazar. You really do want to start to ramp up this rebuild, and you have 3 first round picks. And for me, it's like one of those picks, like the Frondell pick. Don't get me wrong, I love the Frondell pick. My grade doesn't really go as much about that, but it's like the uh the Mason West kid. I think that pick is a massive flop. Massive flop.
I just don't understand it, dude. I
You're
never understood what the
Yeah.
mentality is with him.
And he has like he's committed to play NCAA football as well. So it's like you're gonna have to like really change his mind here to get him to play in the NHL. And then if he does, it's like as you mentioned earlier, he's gonna be a step behind all these other guys that are playing the whole season. This pick makes no sense. I think there's probably 60 players in the draft that would have taken over Mason West in the first round.
Oh, I was about to say I would have been way happier if they took him at 66.
Yeah. I would have been happier with him. I would have been happier with Chicago taking like an Adam Benak with this pick over Mason West, to be honest. It's like at least Adam Benak, he's going to be playing a full year of hockey, and you're actually you like you can actually be saying in the back of your head like at some point like we actually there's a good chance of seeing him in the NHL. Where like with Mason West, I I think there's like a 20% chance this kid plays in the NHL.
Really?
If I'm
I
being
see.
honest.
I'm not even that low on that. I'm more just like they didn't have three. They traded into the first round to make this pick. Like they didn't have three firsts either. Like they gave up assets to make this pick. Like I don't get it.
Yeah,
Like
like yeah, and let's do
it
something
just
we
makes
don't
no
know here.
sense.
And let's do
Like there were
something we
so
straight don't
many
know.
different routes they could have went with this dude. Like yeah, I wasn't even thinking of Cullen Potter.
Yeah, it's like it's for me. It's like, okay, this guy's gonna play football. This guy's gonna play football all fall in high school, and then he's gonna start playing in the. He's probably gonna start playing in the USHL again. Like when? Like November, December.
No, I think I heard it's December or even the new year.
Yeah, it's like that. Like you invested a first round pick on this kid, and then even like next season, what's he gonna do next season? Like, is he gonna be playing NCAA football? You know what I mean? And then like if it does,
Probably.
and then if it does go down that route, and then he doesn't sign with the Blackhawks, it's like you're looking at getting a second round pick back in 4 years. It just really does not make sense to me. Let's take a look now at their lineup going into the season. Couple extensions here, Mark. The big one's Frank Nazar. He signed for $6.59 million a season for 7 years. How do you like that deal for the Blackhawks?
I actually think it's pretty tidy business. Like this contract also isn't even starting until 26, 27.
Yeah.
I think Frank Nazar is a very skilled player. And I think he kind of started to pop near the end of last year. And he led the world championships in points with Team USA too. So I just really wonder if it's going to be a winger or center down the road, but I think either or. I think he's definitely going to be worth this contract, to be quite honest with you. And I think if they get more of a supporting cast around like Nazar and Bedard, he could even pop a little bit more. Like maybe not the first thing is, it's like I kind of see that he might get like 50 points this year. And then like even if he gets like 60 the year after, it's like he's probably already worth it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's
Yeah.
like I don't even think like to me, it's like at worst, I think like the first 2 years of this deal, he's not worth it. And then he would be. But I think that's even a stretch. Like I think he could honestly even be worth it right away. Like in the first year of the deal. I mean,
Yeah.
I like this a lot for Chicago, to be quite honest with you. And he gets security like after barely playing. Right. So
Yeah, I like the deal a fair bit, and it's gonna help out. Like, it's gonna help out Bedard there having him on the second line as well, because it really has felt like Bedard's kind of up on an island within that forward group where like having Nazar here for a full season now, that's gonna help out. They're gonna be injecting some youth, it looks like, in this lineup. So kind of how do you feel about the rest of the lineup and the youth that we're gonna see within this team?
yeah, I mean, like they were pretty young last year, but I mean they did bring in a couple pieces from like the NCAA at the end of the season. There could be a couple guys maybe getting a shot. Like I'm thinking like Nick Lardis from the OHL. Like maybe he
Yeah.
scored 70 goals last year. I think like there could be an opportunity for him in the lineup, but yeah, I guess the one thing I was more concerned about until a couple days ago was kind of like their veteran defensive core. I actually like the Matt Grzelcyk PTO, to be quite honest with you. I think like he had a 40-point season last year. It's kind of like if they sign him and like I'd probably be giving a shot on the power play to like a Levshinov or like a Rinzel. But if it's like if that's really not working, you kind of have a backup option in Grzelcyk who has ran a
Yeah.
power play. Dude, he took it over a tiny bit last year for Carlson and Letang just kind of when shit wasn't going right. And he played like kind of second power play and was still 40 points, right? Like I've always been a decent fan of Matt Grzelcyk. His defensive game has gone really downhill though since like probably a couple of years into him being with the Bruins. And he's not really like an aggressive player. Like he's not really like a playoff type player, but to be honest, for Chicago, it's not really like what they need, right? Like after losing Seth Jones, they got a little bit younger and experience on the back end. So I kind of hope this turns out to be a contract for him because I think that this could be a nice spot for him. Like we talked about with Bowen Byram, and like maybe there's like not as many opportunities as people think out there for him being a skilled left-handed defenseman. Well, imagine Matt Grzelcyk, who's a couple tiers below him, right? Like in accordance to like valuation of a player, right? So I think this is a team where it could actually fit and maybe work, and he can have a pretty good season. But yeah, I think that there will be some growing pains with this young team. But I also think too, dude, that people are going to start to realize how good Sam Rinzel could be, because I think that he is going to be a really good defenseman in this league that people have not really kind of noticed yet. Like he was like a late first round pick a couple years ago. He's huge. He's kind of like skinnier, but like he's so good defensively and has like such good offensive flashes that like I honestly think that I'm getting to the point, dude, where I think that he might have a higher upside than Levshinov. Wow. And I think that like I know it's a couple years difference, but like I'd be kind of thrilled if Levshinov was developing kind of where Rinzel was at this point. Like, and I really think that it really depends how many points he kind of puts up, but I honestly think he's going to be at least like a top 5 Calder pick this year. And if depending on the offensive season, he might even sneak into being a finalist.
Okay. That's interesting. Cuz I do like this Rinzel kid a fair bit. I'm looking at their back end right now. It is pretty young, right? Like you got Vlasic, you got Rinzel, you got Levshinov. I'm curious what's going to happen with Korchinski. Like that's a big question mark for me is what Chicago going to do with him, because like this is a guy who was in the NHL at one point, then he was getting sent down to the A. Like he was a first round pick, man. They traded DeBrincat, and this was part of the return for DeBrincat, right? It's like,
I mean, he was a seventh overall pick, dude. Like
what do you think? What do you think's going to happen with him here this season?
I would probably try to go the route of moving him. Like while value could still possibly be there. I also feel like he was very victimized to the whole NHL CHL agreement because he was drafted, tore up the CHL, was basically too good, went to the NHL, kind of was underwhelming, couldn't get sent down to the AHL, and then last year he was in the AHL most of the year, right? So I feel like he really fell a victim to that, and it probably has hurt his development. But I also don't feel that it's like when I look at Korchinski, like his upside is probably being a top 4 guy, right? Like,
Yeah.
Who has some offense, but I also don't love the idea of having 4 top 4 defensemen like under 26, however old Vlasic is, right? Like I think that moving him out, regardless if it's for offensive help or defensive help, could be an option for them, considering they have a lot of young guys. And one other guy I'm really curious this year, I feel like it's kind of make or break at the beginning of the year with the Hawks, is Lucas Reichel. I feel like he really kind of hasn't performed to expectations being a first-round pick, and I could totally see him being out the door at some point. They've got a lot of young prospects, right? Like they've even guys that might not make like high-end NHL impact. I feel like they've Like, I feel like if they could create an entire team of just their prospects in 3 years, like, they probably could do it. Like, they have guys that could fill out every role, but it's like that's not really how you build a team. You need
Yeah.
experience, you need different factors to be able to be successful, right? So, I'm really curious to see if they try to bring in some sort of other top six help. I understand they went out and got Burakovsky this summer. I really don't mind that trade. I don't really like Joe Veleno that much, to be quite honest with you. And I think that there has been flashes in Burakovsky's game at points in his career that maybe he could pop off for a good season. But I still don't really think it's enough. Like, I still think he's kind of being hung to the wolves a bit, Bedard. But it's not like I can't see a couple of these guys maybe. Is Ryan Donato, like, is that it? Like, is he a 30-30 guy, or is he a 20-20 guy? Was that a career year? But also, I will say 4x4 is not a bad contract for him. I don't think at all. I really like the contract. So there's just still a lot of question marks about this team. I don't really see them improving a ton, but it's like, I think ideally you just want as many of the young guys to develop as possible. Like, just try to get better. Like, it's like at this point, it's like we're a couple years behind, like, Montreal. Like, just try to score goals, try to get the young guys to get better, try to be in games as much as possible. Maybe you'll get another high pick this year. I don't know, right? Like,
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think they're going to be looking for a top 5 pick in next year's draft. What are you going to give their overall offseason grade?
it was really quiet for them. I felt
Outside of the
like
draft.
besides they traded back for Lafferty, and then they did the Burakovsky for Veleno deal. They extended Nazar next year. Spencer Knight just got extended too, like, starting next year. I think a 3-year deal, which is not bad for him, I feel like. I'd probably just go with like a B, because like it was I thought it was like pretty decent. They definitely could have done more to get better, but like the contracts were super tidy. I think have really no complaints about that at all. But I mean, they still kind of haven't surrounded Bedard with enough talent, I think. Kind of
Yeah, I'm going to give them a C. And
C.
I just hold so much weight into the not surrounding Bedard with talent. It's like, I don't want to say it's hurting his growth, but like I don't think it's helping him. I don't think it's helping his development. I think it would
Okay.
be a lot better if like they at least had some sort of high skill player that could play with Bedard. And I'm not saying like they have to be phenomenal, but like even like a Taylor Hall, dude, like a Taylor Hall, I think
Well, they had him, right? And they traded him.
if you brought him back or just some sort of player like that, I just think that I just think that looking at their team, there's going to be a lot of youth in here, and especially in the forward group, it's like some of these young guys aren't really surrounded by a whole much.
Right. No, that makes sense.
Let's move on.
And they
And
are
take
pretty young, right?
yeah.
And then they are young, right? So yeah, it makes sense to get
Let's go and
youth.
take a look at the team that was picking one spot ahead of the Chicago Blackhawks in the draft. It's the San Jose Sharks. They had a fair bit of picks here, one in the first, two in the second round, one in the third. I honestly was a pretty big fan of the way they approach this draft. Mark, looking at their draft, they get Michael Misa at 2. How do you feel about that pick and the rest of their draft?
Well, I mean, it was a no-brainer. Like,
Yeah.
after Matthew Schaefer gets off the board, you take the next best player available. I think obviously people are kind of like, whoa, well, they want Will Smith to be a center. Like, Misa's a center, Celebrini a center. I don't know, man. I just think down the road you'll figure it out, and one of them plays the wing, or fucking one of them's involved in a trade. I don't know, right? Like, to be honest with you, like we talked about it with Seattle. Like, I'm not worrying about that right now, to be quite
Yeah.
honest. Like, this is a position that's in need. like Misa has shown better flashes at center, but like Will Smith also had huge flashes on the wing last year. Maybe it doesn't work out for him at center, like right? Like I don't really think I'm making that pick based on that because I think that's really something you can regret down the road. Um, I love this pick. Misa's obviously got a really high upside in the NHL, I think, probably to be a first line center, even though Celebrini probably will be the first line center down the road. But having two first line centers seems like it's a recipe for success with a lot of teams, right? So 134 points last year and almost had a goal a game. Absolute no-brainer pick for them at number 2. Their second pick of the first round, Joshua Ravensbergen. People were confused because they have Askarov. Dude, I don't think Joshua Ravensbergen is going to be making an NHL debut for at least 5 years anyway. So I just think that they saw the value in the goalie at this pick, and potentially down the road, maybe they're a tandem. Maybe it doesn't work out with Askarov. Maybe Ravensbergen gets traded for someone else. But I think that they just looked at it and said, he's the best player on the board, best player available. He's got a high upside. He's a big goalie who moves well. He's very athletic, kind of plays very simple. I kind of have him projected to be like a starting goalie, probably like a top 15 goalie in the NHL in the future, maybe at his peak. So I think this is a good pick for San Jose. Their next pick, the second pick of the first, or the first pick of the second round, Heoxi Wang. We're pretty familiar with this guy. He played in the OJHL for the first half of the season. I think he's committed to Boston University. And then when the CHL NCAA player agreement changed, he's drafted by Oshawa. He played for the Generals near the end of the season. Definitely more of like a defensive defenseman, but like he seems way more two-way because of how good he skates, and he's pretty good at moving the puck as well. Like, I think there is a possibility that he could be like a top 4 defenseman, but I think like his offensive upside could be somewhat limited to the point that maybe he is a bottom pairing guy. But there was talk about him being higher than this. There was talk about him being lower than this. I think if he actually produced in the OHL, he probably would have went higher. I don't really mind this pick, though. Like, I feel like I kind of had him in like the 40s, but I think San Jose sees the value of him in the second round high here, and definitely probably had him in the first round on their board. Cole McKinney, I like this pick a lot. I think I had him right at the end of the first round this year. He's like was one of the best like two-way players on the National Development Program this year, who also kind of has like a scoring edge to his game. So I think this is a pretty good pick for the Sharks. Teddy Muttrin played in the USHL this year for the Chicago Steel. They were brutal, to be quite honest with you. He still produced at a decent level. He was kind of projected to go higher earlier in the year and then dropped. So not a bad pick. Not too sure at the next pick, the Russian guy, or Zach Sharp, the next guy, but it looks like Sharp's kind of like an overager in college. Max Hayes played in the BCHL last year. He's going to be playing in the WHL this year. He's more just like a bigger, grindy fourth line center. And then Richard Gallant is played in the U.S. National Development Program this past year. He's kind of like an undersized, skilled guy.
Yeah, looking at this draft, they got a lot of pretty good value picks. What draft grade are you going to give them?
A+.
Yeah, I'm all with you on that, dude. I think their first 2 picks, which, as we've said time and time here again on this podcast, the earlier picks in the draft are the more important ones, so we hold more value in that. I think their first 2 picks with Michael Misa and Ravensburg were home runs. I think it's arguably the best possible value they could have gotten with those picks in this draft. And then the Wang pick, yeah, maybe he did go a couple picks early, but honestly, dude, I'm a fan of this pick, man. He is a giant. He's a great skater for his size. Like 6'6", 223.
Oh, dude, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
I would say outside of Schaefer, he's debatably like the second best skater in the draft,
Yeah.
defenseman wise.
And he's a solid 5 inches and probably 200 pounds, if not more, heavier than Schaefer, right? And this is a guy too, right? That like I don't think he's been playing hockey since he was a really young kid, right? So it's going to be interesting to see what his like development is because I feel like he's one of these guys that is a late bloomer, and he is
He
going to
could be.
be have a big year in the OHL or with BU next season. So yeah, I'm going to give them an A plus here with this draft. I think they're the arguably the best draft out of any NHL team.
Honestly, dude, I was thinking that too. Like, I think the only other team I gave an A plus to so far was Dallas, but obviously they didn't really pick till the third round. But I'll be honest with you, even the Cole McKinney pick, like I put as much value into that as almost I do with like Ryabkin, because I think McKinney could have been like a late first round pick, to be quite honest with you. And Mutrin is like he's kind of like a solid like power forwardy guy, and like he
Yeah,
didn't really produce last year, but he's going to Moncton this year. So it's like I really wonder if he's kind of a guy that could pop off too. So for me personally, it's like I almost even look at the first 5 picks and I'm like, I
yeah,
think they almost got value on all of them.
which is really good in a draft. That's one thing San Jose's done phenomenal over the past couple of years, and it's been the drafting. Let's take a look at their lineup now. Not a not a whole lot going on here. They bring in Skinner, Michael Misa. He signed his ELC, so most likely he'll be in the NHL this season. Mark, how are you looking at their lineup, and how do you kind of feel about it?
Yeah, I think that I look at the Sharks and like regardless of them being bad last year, like I felt like they kind of had a whole different vibe than like the
They
Hawks,
did.
right? Like they kind of had like a funner around the team vibe. Um, but I mean, if I were them, I would kind of want to be able to take some strides this year. But I also feel like that Mike Greer made some decent moves that could kind of just fill some holes for like the short term to be able to like get these young guys to play with some veterans. Like the Jeff Skinner deal, I don't mind that at all. He could maybe be able to kind of rejuvenate himself if he's playing with some skilled players. They go out and sign Adam Gaudette, who almost had 20 goals last year. Like
Yeah,
maybe he's a guy who gets some opportunity and he can produce. The Kurashev deal, I'm really not high on Kurashev personally. I think maybe there's something they see in him, but he's kind of a young guy who's got some NHL experience. And then on the back end, like they did make a couple changes. Like they have more experience now, which I would say is good, especially if like Dickinson and like potentially Muka Medulin or Jack Thompson is playing games. Like they bring in Klingberg. I actually like that to potentially. I think I said that. Remember, I said it like in the playoffs. I was like, I think Klingberg's going to go to San Jose to run their
yeah, I
power
remember
play.
that.
And then they go out, they sign Orlov too. They give him a little bit of a payday. And then they claim Nick Leddy off waivers. So like they do have like some experience on the back end. I wouldn't say their back end is good by any means, to be quite honest. But I mean, they've got some guys that can kind of can be around some of the young players that are back there, right? That are inexperienced. They have a lot of guys that are expiring though at the same time. So it's like they like Leddy, Klingberg, Liljegren, and Ferraro are UFAs next year, right? So
Yeah,
maybe you don't get rid of all of them. A couple want to stay. You really depends how the contract negotiations go and obviously their play. And then you look in net, they kind of get over that Georgiev backup goalie, and they bring in Nedeljkovic, who I don't really mind playing 40 games with Askarov, to be quite honest with you, and kind of push him. Nedeljkovic is kind of like a riverboat gambler. I feel like sometimes he's unbelievable, and sometimes he's like an AHL level goalie. But I also feel that it could be a good test for Askarov,
yeah.
and it could be able to give him some starts.
Yeah, I'm looking at this team, dude. And as you mentioned, like it is weird because like they are in a similar position to the Blackhawks, like standings wise, but mentally and like the complete mood, it is fully different, right? It's like with San Jose last year at points, it was like I was actually saying to myself, like, man, like this is actually an interesting kind of fun team to watch with Celebrini, you got Eklund, you got Smith, Toffoli even as well, right? Where with the Blackhawks, it was the complete opposite, where it's like, man, like it's Bedard and that's kind of it. And now like adding Misa, having him in the lineup most likely this year, it's like that's going to be another interesting young piece you're adding. you're gonna have Dickinson most likely getting some minutes at some point here in the NHL. Like I think San Jose, they are on that upwards trajectory, and you are starting to see some of this growth with their young players. And I think they did a good job this offseason kind of bringing in the players that they did, surrounding these young players with some older veterans. And as you mentioned, like the decor, a lot of 1 year deals here. We probably will see some get traded here throughout the season, but they do have a good kind of building block here going into the season. And if some guys stay, they'll stay. If some guys get traded, like we know San Jose, like they have very good asset management within their trades and within their draft picks. Mark, what are
Yeah.
you going to give their overall offseason grade?
I think I will go with. I think just where they're at, and kind of what I would expect a team in this situation to do in an offseason like this when there's still time away. I am comfortable giving them an A. I don't really think there's much to look at and criticize here, to be quite honest with you. Just considering people just need to realize that they're not expected to be a playoff team for a couple of years here, right? And
Yeah.
they need to fill holes and not have huge areas of their lineup where there's young players, right? But they've done a pretty good job at filling those holes. They had a really good draft. And they still have a couple prospects on the way too. I feel like that they haven't kind of gone out and traded away to get more immediate help. So I have no issues giving them an A. I like what Mike Greer's been doing, dude, with San Jose, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, I'm all with you on it, dude. Like I love what they've done here this offseason with the draft and also the players that they're surrounding with these young guys. And as you mentioned too, like they haven't had to give up any of these young players in their system to go out and get some of these guys, right? It's like when you look at their system, you still got Quentin Musty. Like he's a very interesting prospect, a big kind of a power forward type of player. You got a Casper Haltman who, man, he with London last year in the playoffs, especially, like he was phenomenal for London in the playoffs last year, right? So it's like you still do have these younger players in your system that will be coming up at some point, but you're not having to rush them because you're surrounding the young players in the NHL with good veterans. So I think I think San Jose did a phenomenal job this season. I'm giving them an A as well.
Just so you know, too, I'm not too sure if you're familiar with, but the Kitchener Rangers goalie this year is one of their prospects, Christian Kirsch. He was drafted in the fourth round in 2024. He's coming over from the Null. I think he's committed to go to school next year, but with the agreement, they got him to come over and sign. He's a big guy. He's going to be replacing Jackson Parsons. So I'm kind of curious to see how he's going to kind of develop as well. Like I've never really been like high on him or anything, but you never know. He could have a good year and a good team, and it kind of puts you in the right direction development wise.
Yeah, it will be interesting. And if he's good, dude, it's like, man, you got three goalies now in your prospect pool that are all looking good. Overall, though, that's going to wrap up today's episode. Four more teams done with these deep dives. I think next weekend we have the next week we have the final four being Florida, the Rangers, the Jets, and the Ducks. And I will be getting my money glasses for that bet that me and Mark made earlier in the year with the Mikkel Gramling contract. So for everybody tuning in this weekend, thanks for tuning in and keep an eye out for more episodes.